Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me. This is Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier, happy to be here with you again. And so let's talk about what's going on. There's something that's very interesting in the news. I've come back from CPAC, had a great time down there. I hope you've seen the videos, had a couple of exclusive interviews. We got a lot of exclusive coverage. And since that time, we've had Super Tuesday come about. We've had Amy Klobuchar, Pete Buttigieg. We've had Elizabeth Warren all drop out of the race. Basically, the Democratic race for 2020 is now between Bernie Sanders and, of course, Joe Biden. And that's getting interesting because the argument is, well, Democrats, are they going to be for progressives? Are they going to be for socialism? They're looking at the leadership of their party is restricted to old, rich, white men, which is very funny for a party that has been so insistent on social justice and not being behind old, rich, white men. So I love the dichotomy. It's just absolutely reversal of what they keep saying, which is very consistent within the Democratic Party. And also what we're seeing now, today, March 6th, we had the unemployment numbers come out. And we see that the economy is now at 3.5% unemployment, 100,000 more jobs than had been expected. And this is great news. This is really positive news because we keep hearing from the Democrats that, well, the economy is going to crash. There's doom and gloom. And if we don't increase taxes, if we don't increase the amount of money that the government takes from you, well, then everything's going to go to hell in a handbasket. And yet, what we do see is that year over year, if you go over to the BLS.gov, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, you'll see that in February of 2019, there were 8.6 million small businesses. And today, looking at, let me go with adjusted numbers to be fair. So in February of 2019, that was 8.75 million self-employed jobs. Today, February 2020, that is 8.89 million self-employed jobs. You know what helps spur the economy? You know what helps grow the economy? How neighborhoods, people, communities do better? Give them small businesses. Let small businesses that we know are 70, maybe 75% of the engine of job growth. When we have a good economy, that's what happens. When we cut the unemployment, when we cut the corporate tax rate, we saw our economy move forward. That's not what the Democrats want. You ask Anthony Brindisi, he wants to increase the taxes. He wants to increase personal and corporate taxes. If you ask Bernie Sanders, you ask Joe Biden, they all want to increase taxes, which is going to reverse the trend that we have had and the low unemployment rate that we have at this time that they promised us we couldn't get. So the theory under the Democratic rule doesn't match the reality that we're all living. And that's very interesting. And that's very important. And it also brings up to me what's going on in New York State as an example. As one of the states leading the nation on the progressive march that are trying to convince the rest of the nation you have to be progressive. In the example of progressivism, well, what do we see? In the last 2 years, New York State has lost $8 billion. We have lost, in the last 9 years, 1.4 million people. We have lost businesses left and right. Almost all of this happening from the middle class, having an exodus into Florida, Texas, basically everywhere except New York State. And why is this happening? Because New York State doesn't understand how to do business. They don't understand that progressive ideals, socialist ideals, do not work. We're talking real world here. There is no theory. I'm sure it sounds great in a college textbook, but in the real world, what are we seeing? Well, we see things that New York State is so absolutely committed to the idea that we need the home run, the big ticket, this big push for huge corporations, progressive corporations, companies that fit their ideology. And when they do that, well, then they fail because they don't understand business. I'll give you a great example. In the southern tier of New York, in Broome County, what have we seen? Well, what we have seen is that there was the hemp industry. It is the latest big win progressive wish. We bring in hemp. And when we bring in the hemp industry, it's going to create thousands of jobs. It's going to bring in hundreds of millions of dollars. In fact, it was 1 year ago that Chuck Schumer, the senator who wants to attack the Supreme Court, said in Binghamton, New York, that Cannabis Growth, a Canadian hemp company, was going to come into the Southern Tier. It would bring in $100 million, maybe $150 million, and that would create 400 jobs. Don't take my word for it. That was January 14th of 2019. I did an article on it, a video on it. You can look it up for yourself, and you'll see that I was covering this and told people in January 14th of 2019 that this was a lie, that this was going to fail because New York State doesn't understand business, that they are looking at the wrong thing. So they gave tax breaks, well over $1 million in tax breaks, just to this one company, just for this one deal, on the idea that they will get 400 jobs. Well, now we hear, as of February of this year, February 26th, we learned in an article by Jeff Platsky that that's not true. That there may, in 3 years, Cannabis Growth may create 75 jobs, maximum, maybe. And that at some future point, we may get more jobs or maybe not. But we've already spent the money. In fact, we're spending about $22.6 thousand per job that's going to be created, maybe, in 3 years. How's that supposed to transform the industry? In fact, we're seeing in news articles throughout the industry, I mean, if you're just looking around, you will see the articles out there. And Jeff Platsky was very clear in his article, and he called it New York's hemp boom turned into an early bust. You can see it in the Tribune, where he's identifying how there is so much supply, the industry can't handle this. That there are crops that are supposed to be making tens of thousands of dollars that are barely making hundreds of dollars for farmers in upstate New York. That this boom that hemp was going to bring has not materialized. Farmers are not doing well. In fact, farmers, according to the article, are deciding to instead leave their fields unplowed rather than to make more hemp because they have too much and no one is buying it. There is no industry growth, which is not to even speak on the corruption that's existing. So New York State, the county of Broome, Broome County, and its leadership failed the people. Why? Because they're going for a home run. This is very much, if you remember the New York drone sites that were created back in 2013, 2014, with the headline by Anthony Brindisi, then assemblyman, now congressman, that he doesn't want to talk about this. Spent over $250 million, $250 million was spent of your taxes to create a drone site in New York that was supposed to bring 2,000 jobs to New York State and $80 million in revenues. And as of today, there is something, I believe the number is 11 jobs have been confirmed, and New York, the federal government has declined to use the New York State drone testing site, which is up in Rome, New York. I tell you, that's New York State. How about Nano? How about the Buffalo Billions? We can go down the line. The new movie industry of New York, taking Hollywood and bringing it into New York State, where we sold the movie theaters, the movie industry for $1. Yeah, that was a headline from 2 years ago. Do you remember that? And this is what we're seeing. We're seeing that in every aspect. So that's not just from Governor Cuomo, although he leads on that. It's not just from the assembly, which has been dominated by Democrats. No, this is across the entire state because they look at the politics the wrong way. And what we really need to do, I believe, and I'm telling you, I'm acting on this. This is something I'm making happen, and I think we all should be very aware of it. Rather than following this progressist ideology, to follow this failed business ethic, I want to see us emphasize small businesses. How about any business, any small business that's been in our communities for 5 years or more? How about we give them tax breaks? How about we give them grants so that they can hire just one more employee, just one more person. I can tell you that in Broome County alone, if we were to get every business just to hire one more person, every business that's been around for 5 years or more and is a small business, you know what? We could get rid of somewhere between 1,500 and 3,000 jobs on people unemployed. We can get rid of 1,500 to 3,000 unemployed people. You know what that does? That makes Broome County have zero unemployment. And you know what? You can do that throughout the rest of New York State. Why aren't we hearing our legislature, members of our legislature proposing this idea? Why do we not see the Broome County Assembly and the state senators of New York? Why are they not promoting this? I know some of them are, but overall we're not. Many of the districts that are held with Democrats, they don't care. They're not looking at that. What they're talking about is, let's get more taxes. They want to take more of your money to spend in other places, like in New York State, which wants to take your money, increase your taxes, whether you're at the state level, the local level, or the federal level. They want to take more of your taxes so they can give it to illegal aliens to be able to go to school, to be able to go to their jobs, to get driver's licenses. They want the wrong thing. They're not looking out for you, the citizen. They're looking out for other people, because that's a progressive ideology. That's what it is to have social justice. I don't think that's right. I mean, yeah, there was a lot of headlines about we're decriminalizing pot because that's going to create incredible revenue, and that will be a home run for New York State. That was back in June of 2019. It hasn't happened. The hemp industry hasn't happened. I mean, I see things all over. Again, looking at my local area, what has the county been doing under the county executive, Jason Garnar? We see that they took the DSS, the social services, and moved it from a centralized point to a mall that's dying, which is inaccessible to the average person, especially someone who's poor, who's not working. It's made it harder for them. It's making it harder for them to get there. It's giving businesses less of a reason to use that space. I mean, if you want to have a retail business, to go into a mall, let me ask you, do you want to have a clientele that can't afford anything? They're in that mall because they're on social services, because they're getting unemployment. Do you think those people are going to have discretionary funds? Sadly, many of them do, because they use welfare as a way to live. But let's think about it. The majority of them, I like to believe, want a job. And if they want a job, they don't have discretionary money to go out and buy, I don't know, jeans for $500 a piece. No. So why would a small business owner say, let me take the risk to go into a difficult economy in Binghamton, New York, in Broome County, to go into the mall so I can have a clientele that's going to be there every day that are people who are unemployed? That makes no sense. So we have, on many levels, at the county level, at the assembly level, we have failures because they're looking at the wrong thing. Obviously, let's follow more of a federal idea. It works. Let's cut the corporate tax rates. Let's cut some of the redundancies in the regulations. And God knows New York State has plenty of regulations. Let's focus on the small businesses. And let's get leaders in office who can do exactly that. Let's lead by doing. Something that I'm working on right now, and I'll have an announcement about that soon, but that's what I want to share with you today. I think we can have a success, because right now, New York State is not following the success that the unemployment rate says we should. And we have far too many people, we have far too many businesses, we have far too many friends and family members for us to see us not exceed, because we're going under a progressive social justice ideology, and that fails. You know what the saying is? Go get woke, go broke. Well, New York State's doing that. How about we change that? Let's start from the local level and work our way up. Let's get people who have ideas and want to make a difference, rather than to follow a progressive ideology and just be another yes person. Let's move it forward. That's what I think. But you may disagree. Let me know. You can reach me at MV Consult on Twitter. You can reach me at Voss Political Commentary on Facebook. You can reach me on YouTube at No Soundbites Allowed. I'm always happy to be here with you. Again, I am Michael Voss, the Dragon of the Southern Tier. This has been No Soundbites Allowed. I look forward to speaking to you guys real soon. There are some links in the descriptions. Check them out, and I'll talk to you soon.